ears as a gift after filming was done because she loved her character so much. Actors that were part of the Fellowship of the Ring had the number 9 in Elvish tattooed onto them after filming. Viggo Mortensen learned how to speak fluent Elvish for the films. The Return of the King is the first fantasy film to win the Best Picture category. Elijah Wood and Ian McKellen never filmed any scenes together. Some costumes for the movies needed to be replicated more than 40 times. Viggo Mortensen broke 2 of his toes during the making of the Lord of the Rings movies. Christopher Lee originally wanted to play Gandalf. Over 2,000 weapons and 10,000 arrows were made for the filming of the trilogy. Viggo Mortensen bought 3 horses that were used in the films. This actor has a particular habit of adopting his Quinn co-stars. Mortensen is better known for his role as Aragorn in the film. The son of Tolkien does not like the Lord of the Rings books that Peter Jackson wrote. Sean Bean climbed the mountains of New Zealand daily to get to set. Bean had a phobia which made it difficult for him to ride a helicopter up to set. As a result, he was forced to hike up the mountain daily to reach the set on the top of the mountain. The Lord of the Rings movies cost less to make compared to the Hobbit films. Christopher Lee met Tolkien by coincidence. They came across each other in an Oxford bar one night unexpectedly. Lee is reportedly the only member of the film set to ever meet with J.R.R. Tolkien. The Beatles tried to make their own Lord of the Rings movie. This version of the film starred all of the original members. However, Tolkien wasn't too keen on the idea, so the movie was quickly put to an end. Mary originally had a different name. During the first few drafts of the book, Mary was originally named Marmaduke Brandybuck. Later on, Tolkien decided to change her name in the final production of the books. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies takes almost half a day to finish. Watching the 3 films will take you approximately 9 to 10 hours to complete. Each film takes about 3 or 4 hours to complete. All the mountains on Saturn's largest moon is named after the mountains from Lord of the Rings. This was stated so by the International Astronomical Union. The mountain range found on Titan is referred to as Doom Mons, which is named after Mount Doom. Elijah Wood immersed himself in the role of Frodo for his audition tape. He filmed his audition in the middle of the woods. Additionally, he also had his homemade Hobbit costume for the part. John Rhys Davies refused to get his matching Elvish tattoo with his fellowship. Among the 9 cast members for the fellowship, he was the only one who did not want to get inked. Tolkien did not receive the total amount he was owed for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Originally, he had only received a total amount of $62,500, which was around $150 million short. Filming the destruction of Sauron's tower was difficult. The Return of the King debuted sometime in the year 2003. Back then, the memory of the 9/11 incident was still fresh with most people. Choreographing the scene of Sauron's tower was a difficult process as creators did not want to make it resemble the World Trade Center attack. The Lord of the Rings trilogy could not fully make use of CGI for its effects. Tolkien originally did not want to name the 3rd book The Return of the King. Tolkien refused to go with this title because he claimed it revealed too much about the story. Tolkien and his wife's gravestones are engraved with 2 names from The Lord of the Rings. Their gravestones are marked with Luthien and Beren. These were 2 lesser-known characters in the Middle-earth Tolkien created. They were 2 characters that were deeply in love. The male was a mortal man, and the woman was an immortal. inspired by this character and often wonder why he was chosen by Aragorn. Christopher Lee has always wanted to play the role of Gandalf. However, Jackson believed he was too old to play the role due to the fight scenes he would be required to do. Nicolas Cage was originally supposed to play the role of Aragorn. He refused the role mainly due to family obligations. Daniel Day-Lewis was next in line for this role. However, he also refused to take it up. The fight scenes were choreographed by an Olympic fencer. Bob Anderson worked closely with the cast to teach them the fight choreography for all 3 films. He is also known for helping to choreograph the fighting scenes in Star Wars as well. Viggo Mortensen did his stunts without a double. While filming, Mortensen did not use a stunt double and also used a real steel sword while filming. Orlando Bloom broke his ribs during filming. He was thrown from a horse while filming the Two Towers scene. However, he was able to get back on set the very next day. John Rhys Davies is the tallest actor in the Fellowship. Most viewers did not know this considering he played Gimli the Dwarf. This is also proof of how detailed the special effects were for the movie despite not having the CGI we know today. Peter Jackson's daughter makes several cameos throughout the films. Denethor could not light the pyre on fire. This is mainly due to Gandalf's horse refusing to be near the flame. To fix this, the film crew had to set up a glass panel for the flame. It was placed in front of the lens so that it would project as a real flame in the camera. Green ping pong balls were used as stand-ins. Often, Ian McKellen would use these ping pong balls for adding in the CGI character later. This method was used mainly in the movie The Fellowship of the Ring. The Queen of Denmark illustrated the Danish edition of The Lord of the Rings. Nazgul screeches were made with plastic cups. This noise is known to torment the characters in the series. The Gollum effect was loosely based on the withdrawal symptoms of heroin addicts. The filming of the Battle of Helm's Deep took forever to finish. It took an estimated 4 months to finish filming the whole thing. What made it more difficult was that they could only film scenes for this battle during the night. Golems were originally kind creatures. A whole chapter was rewritten when Tolkien realized that it would not have made sense for them to be so kind. He stated that due to the corrosion of the ring, they would not have been so willing to give the ring away. The Dead Marshes were said to be based on Tolkien's experience in World War I. Tolkien served in the British Army during the early 1910s. John Astin was knocked unconscious during filming. He was knocked on the head by a wooden loom located on the set of Rivendell. The Lord of the Rings franchise has won every award it was nominated for. In total, the franchise has won 11 Oscars, with the most notable being its Best Picture award. Gandalf bumping his head in Bilbo's house was not scripted. Saruman was a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Viggo Mortensen became an incredible swordsman over the course of the trilogy. John Rhys Davies also voiced Treebeard, but in a surprisingly low-tech way. It wasn't achieved by electronic distortion, but by having the actor speak in his naturally booming voice at lowest pitch possible through a wooden megaphone. The last shot of principal photography was, fittingly, of the 4 hobbits. Viggo Mortensen not only bought his horse, but Arwen's as well. Bilbo's floor was magnetic for an important reason. The floor was built to be magnetic so that when Bilbo dropped the ring, it wouldn't bounce. The main door to Helm's Deep was built too well and had to be modified. It was built so heavily and so well that the real battering ram that was built to knock down the gates failed to do so until the door was weakened. The Lord of the Rings trilogy was one of the first franchises to use massive, and it was instrumental in getting the films made. Some of the things you never even noticed in the film took the crew weeks to pull off. Billy Boyd's Hobbit scream in The Fellowship of the Ring was as real as it gets. When the dragon firework goes off at the party, the shriek heard is Billy Boyd actually screaming, as he was unaware at the time that the firework was really going to explode on set. He thought that it would be put in digitally. The wrap gift each cast member received was specific to his or her character. Each of the cast members was given a gift on their last day of shooting, usually a prop that was significant to their role. The orc blacksmiths making weapons were actually the crew members making weapons. The franchise went to great lengths to preserve the land on which they filmed. Christopher Lee had Tolkien's personal blessing to play Gandalf. To watch all 3 extended editions, you'll need almost half a day. I think some of these are repeated. The final day of filming took place months after the 3rd film's theatrical release. Ian Holm has played both Frodo and Bilbo Baggins. Ian Holm, who plays Bilbo Baggins in the series, was the voice of Frodo Baggins in the 1981 BBC radio adaptation of The Lord of the Rings. Not a single one of the 300 horses used in the films was hurt during the production of the series. Before filming, the orcs had to swish licorice-based mouthwash to achieve the right look. Alka-Seltzer helped make the Shelob scene more visceral. For the scene in which Frodo gets pierced by Shelob, Elijah Wood had 2 Alka-Seltzers hidden under his tongue, which he chewed up to create white foam. The foam then leaked out of the corner of his mouth. Also, I do apologize if I do get these names wrong. I'm so sorry. Some inside jokes and nods were put into the dialogue in cases when the film strayed from the books. Ian McKellen's first and second days filming were Gandalf's first and last scenes in the film. Arwen was originally meant to battle alongside the elves. All 3 films were also in post-production simultaneously, while John Gilbert was editing The Fellowship of the Ring, and Michael Horton was editing The Two Towers. Jamie Selkirk was cutting the final film. Minas Tirith and Helm's Deep were built on the same set. The creation of Gollum set the new standard in creating realistic CGI skin. The day of shooting, a ping pong ball stood in for Balrog. Shelob the giant spider sent Elijah Wood to the hospital. While Frodo is stabbed by Shelob's stinger, Elijah Wood was actually stabbed with a prop. You can tell what mood Gollum is in by his eyes. You may never see Andy Serkis in the films, but you do see his spit. In The Two Towers, when Gollum spits in disgust at Sam's cooking of rabbits, that is Andy Serkis' very own spittle flying through the air. Serkis lists that scene as his favorite from all 3 films. The Gollum scene briefly in The Fellowship of the Ring is completely different from the one of the rest of the series. The writers had to slightly change a few things from the book to build a proper climax in The Two Towers. The Hobbit's foot makeup took longer than an episode of Game of Thrones. When The Lord of the Rings started out, it was originally going to be 2 movies. Later, concerned about the ballooning budget, producers tried to persuade Jackson to condense the movie into a single film. So it went through a ton of script revisions. Sean Connery didn't understand the script. He read for the role of Gandalf, but admitted that I never understood it. I read the book, I read the script, I saw the movie. I still don't understand it. Aragorn was an extremely difficult role to cast. Russell Crowe was a potential backup for Aragorn. Viggo Mortensen took several beatings. A variety of injuries beset the cast during production, but Mortensen had it particularly hard. Jake Gyllenhaal auditioned to play Frodo. Vin Diesel, Liam Neeson, and Uma Thurman were up for roles. Ian Holm had played Frodo Baggins years earlier. Yeah, I think we did say that he was on the BBC radio. The producer really wanted to kill a hobbit early on in the development process before it found its eventual home at New Line Cinema. The Lord of the Rings trilogy was being made at Miramax. As Peter Jackson would later recall, Bob Weinstein really thought one of the four main hobbits should die. Flight of the Conchords, Brett McKenzie made a cameo. An entire action scene was destroyed by a flood. The end of the Fellowship of the Ring originally featured a scene where the heroes were ambushed by a band of orcs as they rode through rapids on the Anduin River. Bill the Pony was two people in a horse costume. Sean Bean was reading his script during the Council of Elrond scene. Women in beards were used as extras. The Urukai at Helm's Deep are New Zealand cricket fans. A scene where Aragorn fights Sauron is in The Return of the King, sort of. Jackson filmed a scene for the end of The Return of the King where Aragorn goes toe-to-toe with the physical version of Sauron. In a sort of updated version of the Sauron Isildur battle from the prologue of The Fellowship of the Ring. By the time we had got to post-production, Jackson remembers the scene no longer felt right, so they cut it, but they did still use the footage. In the final battle, Aragorn can be seen battling a giant cave troll that was digitally superimposed over what was originally meant to be Sauron. One of the most emotional scenes was shot over the span of 1 year. The scene in The Return of the King where Frodo, urged by Gollum to thank Sam has betrayed him, orders his loyal sidekick to go home. First, Sam's part was filmed, then Frodo's a year later. Every time we cut to and fro between Frodo and Sam, we are actually jumping back and forth across the year-long gap. 27 copies of the book were used up in the process of creating the screenplay between highlighting and note-making and page-tearing. Stephen Sinclair, Philippa Boyan's partner, was originally a screenwriter on the project when it was set to be 2 films. He left due to theatrical duties. The idea of having a battle scene in the prologue to Fellowship was inspired by the tradition of a James Bond pre-credits action scene. Sam Gamgee, professional gardener, is only seen gardening once in the extended edition opening section concerning hobbits. There's absolutely no CG in the scene where Gandalf and Frodo meet in the forest, just small and tall stand-ins. Other wizards named by Tolkien include Radagast, Alatar, Orlando, and of course Saruman. I probably butchered those names, but yeah. Henry Mortensen, Viggo's son, was called on to research what happened to Thorin's map in the Book of the Hobbit to make sure it could reasonably appear briefly in Bag End. Every single character wears a wig apart from Billy Jackson, Peter's son, in Fellowship, who had perfect Hobbit hair. The special editions in total are 158 minutes longer than the theatrical releases. Peter Jackson doesn't like magic in fantasy films and tried to avoid it. Lord of the Rings is the 6th highest grossing franchise ever, behind Harry Potter, James Bond, Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Shrek. Well, there you guys have it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I mean, I had no freaking clue how to pronounce those names, but I hope I did that. You know what, I probably butchered it, but that's fine, whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing fantastic as always. And yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much for your support. It means so much. I can never be grateful enough. Like, seriously, you guys are freaking awesome. With that being said, I hope you have a great day,